Hi everyone, Eric from Mr. Cook Eric here. This video will be about the last part of our China trip on an RV. This time it will be about our trip in Tibet and also our trip back to our house. It's really interesting, so let's get right into it. This time we were actually driving on Route 318, one of the most famous routes in China. Throughout this part of the trip, we saw many cars, usually SUVs, have stickers saying Route 318 must go in your life. It says that because this route has very beautiful sights, but it is also really dangerous to drive on. For example, here you can see that we're driving on the side of a cliff with a fast flowing river on the other side. Rocks can fall down at any moment and the road can collapse at any moment, so it is really nerve wracking. However, you can also see here that it has some parts that are really beautiful. There is also a place called the 72 Turns that contains the beautifulness of this route but also the nerve wracking part. It is called the 72 Turns because it is literally made up of 72 major turns and there are about 130 turns in total. Now we move on to our first destination, Lulang. Lulang is famous for their stone pot cooked chicken. It is a traditional Tibetan dish, but first we took a walk around the town looking at some traditional Tibetan style buildings. After that, we went to eat the stone pot cooked chicken. It contains chicken meat from a caged free chicken, some medicinal plants, and also matsatake, a type of mushroom. It is really yummy, and for some reason, all of these weird ingredients go together really well. Here you can see the owner of the store cutting some matsatake. The owner says that you can actually eat it raw. I tried it, but it tasted worse than the cooked ones. Here the owner is explaining to us that the stone pot before it is cooked for the first time was actually white, and things like the stone pot cooked chicken recipe is actually a family recipe that was carried down for generations, and that's why she never invited chefs to do it for her. Also, the owner of this store is in her 60s, but she looks like that still is in her 40s. She said that it is because she has been eating this stone pot cooked chicken her whole life. Now for the second destination of this part of the trip, Lhasa. We first went to visit a museum based on the history and cultures of the Tibetans. Here are some highlights. We also stayed in a hotel that's called Shangri-La. If you remember, we also went to the city Shangri-La before we entered Tibet. You can also see on the wall that there are some Tibetan culture ornaments and they look really cool. This is an oxygen maker because we're in high altitudes. When we were in Lhasa, COVID-19 was starting again in China and was in Jiangsu province, our hometown's province. So my mom and dad were calculating when to get home because if our city went onto lockdown, we wouldn't be able to go in. Throughout the trip, we were asked about COVID-19 things at checkpoints because we were from Jiangsu. This green code was the only thing that was helping us to get past the checkpoints. We ate some traditional Tibetan food for dinner at the hotel. We're cutting yak meat with a traditional knife from Tibet. This huge drum is actually made out of yak leather. After the dinner, we went to a performance about an important event that happened in Tibet's history, and that is a Chinese princess from the Tang Dynasty married the king of Tibet. She brought a lot of Chinese cultures to Tibet, plus a 13-year-old Buddha statue. Looks like we will be watching the show in the rain. It actually looks pretty beautiful. The theater is actually a no-roof theater, so this made the performance interesting because of the rain. Check out these lightnings because of the rain. Here are the start, end, and some highlights of the show. That's what they're for. 第一幕。Here was the amazing thing about this performance is that even though it was raining, none of the performers messed up or did anything funny. That means that they were true to their jobs. In the morning, during breakfast, I tried making a traditional food of the Tibetans. It's a mixture of highland barley flour and a kind of Tibetan tea. I did a pretty good job actually. Got really close to what the chef showed us. It was also pretty yummy. Now for the main part of Lhasa, Potala Palace. Potala Palace was built by the Tibetan king who married the Chinese princess. It was where they lived. Now is where the Lamas live. Climbing to where the tour actually started was the worst part of it. Climbing at an altitude of 12,000 feet with a mask is probably the worst experience of climbing a mountain I've ever had. When we got into the first room, the drawings on the walls actually look scary and menacing. Look at their eyes. This is the courtyard before we go into one of the main parts of the palace. Unfortunately, this will be the last video for the palace because they don't let you take photos or videos inside the palace. After Lhasa, we decided to go back to our hometown right away, driving the RV all the way there before it goes on lockdown. We are currently driving through Hovel. Great view, and it's also a animal kingdom. I saw wolves, rabbits, and goats. These spikes are things that you will see often on this road. They are like the refrigerators of the ground. It sticks about 1 to 2 meters underground where it cools and hardens the ground under the road because it is a swampy area. The swampy area would collapse the road if it weren't for these sticks. If you're wondering why we're making our own food here, that is because we were stuck in a 4-hour traffic jam because of trains that were transporting things. Good thing we had an oxygen maker on the car. This is on the altitude of around 15,000 feet, as you can see here, as where we are stuck. You can also see that we also climbed a 5,000 meters or 17,000 feet mountain at night. We climbed it at night because our car was having trouble reaching speeds above 30 kilometers per hour if we were above 4,000 meters. So my dad used an air cable from the oxygen maker to the engine, and it worked. We were able to drive to 70 kilometers per hour. After that traffic jam, we kept on driving and saw the Kunlun mountain range. It was pretty cool and also really beautiful. After we left the high altitudes area, we were going through the Qinghai province when we reached Lake Qinghai, one of the largest saltwater lakes in China. The view is awesome. We also ate some food close to the shore of the lake. Some food tasted weird but good, like the natural staghorn vegetable. It literally looks like a stag's horn. There is also the plateau treble dish. It contains three natural plants that grow in the plateau. The most important thing in this dish is the potentilla.